What's your emergency?
My son's wife is dead. Please, there's something wrong with my son. Those were the urgent words of a father that would lead to the uncovering of one of the county's most shocking crimes in recent memory. The cold January air settled over Waller County, Texas, as a deputy walked up to a family's property. Just 2 days before, he had answered what looked like a normal medical call at this same place. Now, he was stepping into a nightmare. A father's desperate call had brought him here, unaware he was about to face a scene that would stick in his memory for the rest of his life. What started as a story of young love, with a wedding only months earlier, had turned into something horrible. In merely 2 days, what was once an ordinary family life descended into tragedy, leaving loved ones devastated and the entire community struggling to comprehend the horror. This is the tragic case of Anggy Dicus. The cause of this tragedy goes back many years in Waller County, where the Dykus family had been well-known members of the community. Rodney Dykus raised his family on Oak Hollow Boulevard, creating a life built on close community bonds and strong family values. His son, 21-year-old Jared Dykus, was brought up in this close community. He was known to the police, but only for minor issues, normal small-town problems that didn't really seem like warnings. Anggy Dicus was just 21 and came from Nicaragua. She had been in the United States for 3 years, working very hard to help her family back home. Anggy managed 2 jobs so she could send money to her relatives, including paying for treatment for her mother who had cancer. This commitment showed who she was: hardworking, caring, and determined to support the people she loved. In October 2022, just a few months before the terrible events, Jared married Anggy Dicus. The young pair seemed full of hope for the future, moving into their first place together, a converted shed on his family's land. Dykus's parents stayed in the main house, while he and Anggy lived in the small cabin behind them. This setup was common in the area, where different generations often shared property to help young couples get started on their own. The converted shed was their own version of the American dream, simple, but full of promise. Neighbors remembered seeing them fixing up the place together, with Anggy often caring for the little garden she planted. Anggy Dicus worked at the local Chili's restaurant, where people quickly noticed her friendly nature and strong work ethic. She fit right in with the Dykus family, winning over her in-laws and creating what looked like a solid start to her new life. They seemed happy, and Anggy often shared pictures of them together on social media. In one Christmas post, Jared even wrote, "Merry Christmas, my beautiful wife, my trophy." They really seemed to be living the dream many couples hope for. But underneath this seemingly perfect picture, problems were starting to grow. In the weeks before the tragedy, small shifts in Jared's behavior began to show. At first, these were brushed off as normal pressures of being newly married, but later they would be seen as the early warning signs of a terrible downfall. The first clear sign that something was deeply wrong came on the night of January 8, 2023. Around 9:15 p.m., Jared called 911, a moment that would later mark the start of a tragic chain of events. His voice sounded unsure and shaky as he said, "I did a little bit of drugs and I need help." When the dispatcher asked for more information, Jared first seemed to take it back, but then admitted he needed medical help. The call was full of mixed signals. Jared kept switching between asking for help and saying he didn't need any, his confusion clear in every part of the conversation. "I'm completely sorry," he told the dispatcher. "I don't know why I called." But just a moment later, he said he did need an ambulance. It was also mentioned that his family was at the house, a detail that would later play an important role in understanding the full extent of the tragedy. Emergency crews got there quickly, sending both an ambulance and a police car to the scene. Before they arrived, Jared called 911 again, sounding even more upset. "I was drugged yesterday. I don't feel well." This second call showed his worsening mental state, though at the time it seemed like a typical case involving drugs. When first responders got there, they found he needed to go to the hospital but didn't seem to need long-term care. Jared was checked out and then released to his father, a choice that would later be questioned a lot after what happened next. For just over a day, life on Oak Hollow Boulevard seemed normal again. But that calm was misleading, just the quiet before the horror that was about to happen. In the early hours of January 11, 2023, The uneasy calm on Oak Hollow Boulevard was broken. According to later accounts, Jared got home around 5 a.m. What happened in the following hours would later be revealed through his own chilling confession and the evidence found at the scene. The morning began in an ordinary way. Jared and Anggy were just talking, as he later told police. But when Anggy turned on the TV, something in Jared's drug-affected mind snapped. He claimed he heard evil voices coming from the television, ordering him to do terrible things. Whether these voices came from drug-related psychosis, mental health problems, or both would become a key question in trying to understand what led to the tragedy. What happened next was so terrible that even experienced police officers had trouble understanding and talking about it. During a drug-fueled psychotic episode, Jared used a large kitchen knife to behead her, ending her life in such a violent way that the officers who responded later needed counseling to cope with what they saw. What makes this case even more disturbing is what Dykus did afterward. After killing Anggy, he went to her workplace, a local Hispanic butcher shop. Security cameras caught him taking a beer from the cooler and leaving without paying. He then calmly drank the beer in the parking lot. This all happened right after the killing, before his parents even knew what had taken place. It was this cold, emotionless behavior that shocked the entire community. Around 2:30 p.m. that Wednesday, Rodney's panicked 911 call sent police rushing to the property. Deputy Randy Lewis, who had answered Jared's medical call just 2 days before, arrived to find a scene he would never forget. The property had turned into a place of heartbreak. Jared sat in a police car. His father tried to stay calm while helping officers, and other family members were spread out around the yard, each trying to understand the unthinkable. From the start, the investigation faced special challenges. 9 dogs on the property meant officers and family had to work together carefully to keep the scene secure. The converted shed where the killing happened needed to be handled with extra care to protect evidence. With many family members there who might be witnesses, police had to separate and question them carefully. Crime scene investigators carefully recorded every detail. The discovery of drugs at the scene, along with Jared's recent hospital visit, suggested he had quickly fallen into drug-related psychosis. The evidence pointed to a sudden violent outburst instead of a planned killing, a fact that would later play a role in court. As the day went on, investigators had the difficult job of collecting evidence while also dealing with a family in shock. Rodney Dykus, even while coping with his own pain, was key in helping keep things under control. His willingness to work with police during such an unthinkable tragedy earned respect from the officers handling the case. By 10 p.m. that night, Jared was in an interview room at the sheriff's department, with paper bags over his hands to protect any possible evidence. His behavior while in custody was strange. He slept on the floor and did exercises, which could have been caused by drug use or severe anxiety. Investigators carefully took DNA samples and checked for gunpowder residue, working in a thorough, scientific way to build their case. The interrogation showed clearly how drug-related psychosis can affect someone. For the first hour, Jared went back and forth between sleeping and doing random exercises. When the questioning started, he had trouble staying connected to reality, let alone giving answers. He kept saying, "Something came in here," sounding completely lost in his own thoughts. But as the interview went on, his distant state started to break. The investigators' efforts to reach his sense of guilt and emotion slowly got through to him. "I just lost my way," Jared finally said. "I lost my way with God." When asked for more details, his story revealed a disturbing mix of drug-fueled hallucinations and violence. The legal process started with an important first step, deciding if Jared was mentally fit to go to trial. The big question was whether his psychotic episode was just a short-term, drug-related problem or a sign of more serious mental health issues. After a careful evaluation ordered by the court, he was found competent to face the charges. The prosecution put together a strong case, using both physical evidence and Jared's own confession. He admitted he had only started using methamphetamine less than 2 weeks before, suggesting a quick decline instead of long-term drug abuse. This point would be important for both the prosecution's approach and the final sentence. In a decision that saved both families from the pain of going through a trial, Jared Dykus pleaded guilty to murder on July 31st, 2023. The court gave him a 40-year sentence in the state penitentiary at Tennessee Colony, Texas. Although the sentence was long, it allowed for the chance of parole in 2043, a part of the decision that would later cause debate in the community. The effects of this tragedy reached well beyond the families directly involved. The case started serious talks about drug use in rural areas, especially the harmful effects of methamphetamine. Local police said they used the case in drug prevention efforts to show how quickly casual drug use can lead to something terrible. The medical field also came under question. People asked about the rules for letting patients go when they show signs of drug use and mental problems. Jared being released from the hospital just 2 days before the killing led to a review of how emergencies involving drug-related behavior are handled. For the Dykus family, the tragedy brought an impossible situation, mourning Anggy's death while seeing Jared go through the court process. Rodney Dykus in particular bore the heavy burden of watching over his son while fully assisting the police, managing this difficult balance with remarkable calm in a situation no parent should ever have to face. The heartbreaking case of Anggy Dicus is a clear warning of how fast drug use can destroy lives and break families. What started as new drug use turned into an unimaginable tragedy within weeks, leaving a young woman dead, a man behind bars, and several families changed forever. Although Jared Dykus will stay in prison until at least 2043, the effects of what he did still weigh on the community. The police officers who worked the case still talk about it as a major moment in their careers, showing how quickly normal situations can turn tragic. The case is a chilling example of how destructive drug use can be, and why it's so important to spot and deal with signs of substance abuse before it leads to disaster. In the end, this story isn't only about a crime, it's about how fragile life is, and how fast drugs can destroy even the brightest futures. As Waller County tries to recover, Anggy's memory stands as both a reminder of what was lost and a push to prevent similar tragedies. What happened to Anggy Dicus at the hands of this monster is truly tragic. Our sincere thoughts and prayers go out to her soul and to the family and friends she left behind. If you found this video compelling, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and check out our other videos. Thank you for watching.